I think currently the Bright Memory has a lot of potential to be an outstanding game, but I have a feeling that we might be waiting an awfully long time for this to get a full release, and honestly, I'm okay with this.
Yeah, it turns out not as long as I expected. A couple of years ago, I stumbled across a game on Steam called Bright Memory, and it was bloody amazing. Sadly, it was a little short, only lasting half an hour, but for the cheap price it was a lot of fun. It was a fast-paced FPS with similar traits to games like Devil May Cry and Bulletstorm, with features like a score system, skill points to unlock new abilities, and some light platforming moments that were a bit on the rough side. It certainly had some minor flaws to it, but overall it was an impressive little indie title, and after replaying it recently, it still holds up to this day and feels like a modern AAA title, which is impressive when you consider the fact that this was made by one person, which I still find really hard to believe. It's that impressive. So to see a sequel come out so close after the original game launches out of early access and getting it for free for owning the original is surprising to say the least. Bright Memory Infinite seems to be more of a soft reboot than a sequel. While the gameplay feels fairly similar, the story has been reworked a lot. When compared to the original where it starts in the thick of it, Infinite starts with somewhat of a setup that just falls apart as the game goes on. So this is going to sound weird, but the game starts with the protagonist on her day off resting in her apartment when she's called back into service after some rather extreme weather, and that could be related to something a bit more dangerous. From getting closer to the source, it turns out to be a black hole. A black hole that looks to be within Earth's atmosphere. See, I don't know science, but I find this rather odd to say the least, and I think what makes this funnier is that no one is fazed by a black hole being so close to the Earth.
Director Chen, I managed to escape the aircraft. I can see a massive black hole up ahead.
A black hole. Understood. I'll inform the other team members. For now, find a safe place to descend.
What? Oh no!
I should also mention this game is set in 2036. This isn't even futuristic, this is close to modern day. Yeah, the story is that dumb. All that really happens from here is you find out that someone has deliberately made this black hole to flood the planet and take over the world. And yeah, I'll admit, after seeing the black hole, I just completely ignored the story from there on. It's not what I'd consider a focus point of the game. It feels like it's just put there for the sake of context so you can get from one place to another. And it works, I guess? Just don't go in expecting something like Metal Gear Solid, because this feels more like a standard modern Call of Duty game. It's just there because it needs to be. But on the plus side, the game itself is really good. But, and I hate to say this, I kinda prefer the original. Don't get me wrong, Bright Memory Infinite on its own is a solid experience, but I think if I didn't revisit the original right before playing this one, I wouldn't have noticed so quickly that the game feels a bit more simplified when compared to the original. Some areas feel more streamlined, which isn't entirely a bad thing. The inputs for extra abilities in the sword are a huge improvement over the original. Having tab set as the default key to parry with the sword seems a bit dumb for a game on Steam, but the new UI looks a lot tidier, and I think the upgrade system being reduced to just finding relics in the map is actually a nice touch. But I feel the necessity for experimenting with all the different weapons during combat has been removed completely. In the original, during combat segments, you were given a rank depending on how well you did. Again, similar to something like Devil May Cry and Bulletstorm. Now, it didn't really do anything, but it was a nice way to challenge yourself to play with different things. Instead, an enemy encounter in this game plays out a bit more static, and it feels more like you're progressing through a Call of Duty campaign, which isn't terrible, it doesn't really change much, but it definitely feels like a step back. I can understand in the original the score system really didn't do anything, but in the sequel you've designed the perfect solution for it. When you kill enemies in Infinite, you acquire relics that can be put towards upgrades. So why not use the score and rank system as a multiplier to reward you with extra relics the better you do? It would have at least pushed me to experiment with some of the new weapons and alternative ammo types, as there's 4 weapons in this game excluding the sword, and each one has a stronger alternative fire mode, with the caveat being the ammo pool for that is a lot smaller. But knowing enemies are so easy to kill with the standard ammo and the sword, I would just stick to that and keep my special ammo for the bosses. And it's not just for the ammo, the same thing happened with the extra abilities. You can unlock more attacks for the sword and the gauntlet, but once I found my preferred style of play, I would just stick to that as there was no reason to do anything else, and within the 2 hours of playtime, I forgot the ground pound was even an attack. It was only towards the end of the game where I did it accidentally that I remembered, oh yeah, I wasted points on this. And it's such a shame to say that, because overall the gameplay experience in this game feels a lot better. At least, the parts that were carried over from the original feel a lot better. The new parts aren't that good. There's some new additions to this game that are a little weird, like wall running that's barely used, a dull stealth section, and then there's a driving section which somehow glitched out while I was playing it. There's not a lot about this game I don't like, but these two sections of the game feel so out of place and were not fun in the slightest. The driving section is easy to explain, it just controls poorly, which isn't a surprise for a mouse and keyboard game. It's very hard to make a mouse and keyboard feel good when you're driving. But when you have a crosshair locked to the center of the screen when enemies are shooting at you for you to shoot back, maybe allow me to use the mouse to aim a bit, not steer the car into the direction, because that's not good. Why would anyone expect that to be good? I mean, the answer's rhetorical, but the answer is no one. No one should think this is a good idea. As for the stealth, it's actually not that bad. I've played worse, but my biggest gripe with it is not that it's too slow and brings the game to a halt, which completely kills the fun for me, or that it lasts way too long, or that it's far too easy to kill everyone. It's actually because the view model of the cleaver is smack bang in the middle of your fucking screen. How am I meant to see what's in front of me? Oh, I'm gonna stealth around the corner and just see if there's a guard round there. I wonder if there's anybody there. Too bad I can't see anything. God, like, imagine you're playing something like Left 4 Dead and you pick up a melee weapon, and instead of it being on the right hand side or the lower part of your screen like a melee weapon should be, it's smack bang in the center of your screen and you just have a vertical line in the middle that you can't see through. It's not fun, is it? And if I'm showing you the right gameplay at the moment, which I hope I am, you might notice I'm constantly swinging my weapon. That's not because I think the animation for swinging the cleaver is cool, which never really comes into any use. It's so I can see. Also, for some reason, when you stealth kill someone in this, you can sometimes choke them with the cleaver. Isn't that a bit counterproductive? Honestly, outside of those two things, which are very mute points, and if those were the only things I can complain about, it kind of shows that the overall product is actually quite good. Yes, there are definitely a few bugs here and there, most of which have been fixed now, but when the development team is this small, you're gonna see bugs, it's to be expected. The only bug which is worth mentioning, outside of the AI being a bit brain dead at times and giving me PTSD to Devil's Hunt, is that whenever I picked up a new weapon in the game, it would just reset all my key bindings except the ability to walk around, so I actually couldn't shoot anything, which, you know, isn't that convenient when you're in the middle of a fight. Hey, you just got this sniper rifle and you're being shot at by a sniper in the distance. The fucking guns broke, man. I don't know what I can tell you. I should mention, before someone takes this too seriously, that I'm not entirely fussed by this. It was really easy to sort. You can either just kill yourself or just restart a checkpoint and then the problem's gone. I don't think the developer has actually fixed this bug yet, so that might be worth keeping in mind when you play through it, but going by how quick these patches are coming out, I don't think it would take them that long to fix. And yeah, that should be about it really. The game is still rather short, it's only 2 hours. It's definitely longer than the original, but I don't think there's anything else worth mentioning. I mean, there are cosmetic DLCs you could buy, but I feel like if I showed those off, I'd probably get demonetized. So, go figure. Bright Memory Infinite is a fun little game and it will kill a couple of hours if you've got time to spare, but similar to Industria, the price may put you off due to the length, but at the end of the day, I think considering what the quality is of this game, it's worth trying. If not, get the original. It's a lot cheaper and it's still the same thing. And if you're following on from the original looking for more of the same fast-paced action from Bright Memory and Infinite, I think you might want to lower your expectations ever so slightly. While the game is still very good and it has a lot of moments of satisfying combat, I think the slight difference in direction might disappoint some of the more hardcore fans of the original, but not fully. And I mean, if you bought the original on Steam or GOG, you probably got Infinite for free anyway, so I'm not entirely sure what you're doing here before playing the game, so yeah, go play the game. Oh yeah, spoiler warning by the way for anybody who does play this, the game ends on a fucking QuickTime event. Remember when this was a really cool bit at the end of Halo 4? Yeah, me neither.